Good evening, everyone. This is Kathy Kimberlin. I am the Field Director for Alameda County Supervisor David Haubert. Welcome tonight to the Know Your Rights Immigrant and Refugee Town Hall, hosted by Alameda County Supervisor David Haubert, District 1, and Alameda County Supervisor Elisa Marquez, District 2. And we will start out with a little bit of housekeeping on languages to begin. Welcome, everyone. The languages we will have available tonight with interpreters are Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Farsi, Vietnamese, and Hindi. So I think we will go to the language slide next, and we will allow each of the interpreters to explain how to access the language, your language.
नमस्कार, आपका स्वागत है। आज इस प्रेजेंटेशन में आप हिंदी की चैनल को चूज़ कर सकते हैं। आप वेबिनार कंट्रोल में जाके इंटरप्रिटेशन पे क्लिक करें और उसके बाद अपनी लैंग्वेज सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं। और जब आप हिंदी सिलेक्ट करेंगे तो आप जो ओरिजिनल ऑडियो है उसको म्यूट कर दें ताकि सिर्फ आप हिंदी की आवाज़ ही सुन सकें। धन्यवाद।
Thank you. Spanish. Can we hear this instruction in Spanish, please?
Muy buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros. Tendremos interpretación disponible si necesitan en español. Favor de seleccionar el lenguaje que les pertenece. Primero, en los controles de la reunión o el webinar, seleccione interpretación o interpretation. Segundo, seleccione el lenguaje que quisiera escuchar de la lista, en este caso español o Spanish. Para escuchar el lenguaje al intérprete solamente, favor de poner su audio en silencio. Para Windows o Mac, pulse en el globo, el icono del globo que dice Interpretation y escoja el lenguaje. Y en Android, vaya bajo Language Interpretation y escoja Original Audio o audio original.
Thank you. Next, Mandarin, please.
Thank you. 大家晚上好，欢迎来参加今天的会议。我们将在会议现场提供国语的同声传译。如果你想听国语的话，请单击 Zoom 屏幕右下角一个翻译的按钮，你将看到一个地球的图标，然后请选择 Mandarin。那如果您是通过智能手机或者平板电脑的应用程序加入的话呢，请通过单击更多或屏幕右下角的3个点来选择的语言，选择语言翻译，然后请选择国语 Mandarin， 然后单击完成。但如果您只想听到纯译员而不是原声，请确保单击是原声静音 Mute Original Audio。好的，谢谢。Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Cantonese next, please.
各位晚上好。咁我係今日嘅廣東話翻譯。咁如果你今日嘅會議咧係想聽廣東話咧，你記得就要做以下呢幾步啦。首先咧你如果係用 Windows 嘅或者用 Mac 嘅你會見到左下角有一個地球寫住 Interpretation 嘅一個image 啦，跟住咧你要選擇翻廣東話，亦即係 Cantonese。如果你係用 Android 或者 iOS 蘋果手機嘅你見到咧都係應該喺左下角或者係右下角右上角嗰度咧有3點，嗰3點撳咗之後咧，你都要將佢之前嘅 Original Audio 揀出去，就揀翻落去揾翻 Cantonese 廣東話嗰度跟住咧你就可以聽到咧同你翻譯今日嘅會議。記得佢原本嗰個 Original Audio 咧，你要 mute 咗佢嘅，靜音咗佢嘅，咁樣就可以聽到翻譯嘅呢一個會議噶啦。好的。
Thank you. 3 more to go. Farsi is next.
سلام، وقت شما بخیر. به اطلاع میرسونم که این ایونت به صورت همزمان به زبان فارسی هم ترجمه میشه. برای اینکه بتونید زبان فارسی رو فقط بشنوید کافیه که در پنل کنترل این جلسه یا وبینار روی گزینه اینترپریتیشن یا ترجمه همزمان شفاهی کلیک کنید و در ادامه زبانی که میخواهید رو انتخاب بفرمایید که زبان فارسی هست در لیستی که پیش روی شما قرار میگیره. برای اینکه تنها زبان به صورت ترجمه شده یا زبان فارسی رو بشنوید، شما میتونید به راحتی اوریجینال اودیو یا زبان اصلی که به انگلیسی هستش رو در حالت سکوت یا میوت قرار بدین. در ویندوز و مک گزینه به این صورت هستش که عبارت اینترپریتیشن رو انتخاب میکنید و بعد از منویی که باز میشه زبان فارسی رو انتخاب میکنید و برای اندروید و آی او اس هم میتونید به راحتی اون اوریجینال اودیو رو در اون حالتی که عرض کردم میوت هست قرار بدید. It's all done.
Thank you. 2 more to go. Hang in there, everyone. Vietnamese is next.
Xin chào quý vị. Cái cách để bạn có thể chọn cái ngôn ngữ mà mình mong muốn. Bước thứ nhất là bạn vào cái bảng kiểm soát cuộc họp, bảng điều khiển cuộc họp hoặc là webinar, chọn vào mục thông dịch viên, tiếng Anh là interpretation. Bước thứ hai, bạn chọn cái ngôn ngữ mà bạn muốn nghe từ cái danh sách ngôn ngữ. Bước thứ ba, để nghe thông dịch viên tiếng Việt thì bạn hãy tắt cái âm thanh gốc. Tên tiếng Anh gọi là nút tiếng Anh gọi là mute original audio. Cảm ơn. Good done.
Are you finished? All done. Thank you. Next and last will be Hindi.
नमस्कार, आज के प्रोग्राम में स्वागत है। अपनी लैंग्वेज को चूज़ करने के लिए आपके जो मीटिंग और वेबिनार कंट्रोल हैं उस पर इंटरप्रिटेशन पे क्लिक करें। जैसे विंडोज़ और मैक या आपका एंड्रॉयड सिस्टम है वहाँ पे इंटरप्रिटेशन लिंक पे क्लिक करके आप अपनी जो भाषा है उसका चयन कर सकते हैं और आप हिंदी भाषा पे क्लिक करेंगे तो आप हिंदी में ये प्रेजेंटेशन को सुन सकेंगे। और हिंदी में सुनने के लिए आपको जो ओरिजिनल ऑडियो है उसको म्यूट करना पड़ेगा और फिर आप उसको हिंदी में सुन सकेंगे। धन्यवाद। Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now as you switch into the language of your preference, we will introduce the supervisors. I would like to introduce
Sorry for
Alameda.
interrupting you. This is mom interpreter.
Do we have? Let's see. I'm not sure if we're going to have a channel for mom interpreter. I think that we ran out of channels tonight. We're limited. And so I don't think we're going to be able to hear from you tonight.
Okay, I was signed. That's why I'm logging in.
Okay. All right. Yes, I don't think we'll be able to hear from you tonight. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, then I can be excused.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. All right. So next, what I'd like to do is introduce our supervisors. We will start with Supervisor David Haubert. He'll tell you a little bit about why we're here tonight.
Yes, thank you, Kathy, and thank you to all the support staff that are working to make this a productive meeting. Welcome, everyone. I see we have about 60 attendees, and I know there's 61. There's more people joining as we speak. The purpose for tonight is for several reasons. First, for everyone on the call to know that we in Alameda County care about you, care about your situation, and we're here to provide help, information, resources, comfort to those that are experiencing anguish and stress today. We want you to know also that you have rights as human beings, and we have mandated services that we are to provide to you. Some of the people on the call are immigrants to America. You come here for work, for family, for different reasons. Some on the call are international refugees who have fled hardship in their home country and are dealing with that. And so we value you, we care for you. And tonight we will share great resources from a legal perspective and from a resource perspective. Please take notes, but we will also be sending out follow-up information to you in email that will have links and other presentation materials. So you can take notes, and you can also wait for the email that comes immediately after this presentation. There will be time for you to ask questions after the original presentations. I think the first hour presentations, the second hour questions. So please, if you have questions, we will be able to answer them. And to show you how much we care about you, we have two county supervisors on the call today. I'll now introduce my colleague, who is also on the recently constituted Immigrant and Refugee Committee that we have set up. That's Supervisor Elisa Marquez from District 2. I'll turn it over to her. So thank you all for attending.
Thank you, President Haubert. Welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Elisa Marquez, and I have the honor of representing District 2, which includes Hayward, Union City, Newark, and portions of Fremont. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Supervisor Haubert's team, as well as our IT team with the county and my own team for working so quickly to make this Know Your Rights event a reality. In times like these, it is essential that our community feels empowered with accurate information and a clear understanding of their rights. A special thank you to the following organizations for their invaluable presentations and unwavering commitment to our residents. Want to acknowledge Alameda County Public Defender's Office, Immigration Division, Centro Legal de la Raza, Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, and Alameda County Office of Education. Your dedication to ensuring that our community is informed and is supported is deeply appreciated. I also want to emphasize that Alameda County is a welcoming county. We stand by our immigrant and refugee communities and remain committed to protecting and uplifting all residents regardless of their background. Unfortunately, I do have a prior commitment this evening, so I will not be here to close out the event. My public safety advisor, Brenda Govez, who has also been instrumental in this forum tonight, will close out tonight's meeting. So please listen to the information. We want to make sure we're providing the public accurate information, and we look forward to answering your questions and being in contact with you in the future. Thank you again, everyone, for taking time out of your busy lives to become more informed. Thank you. And I now will turn it back to Kathy Kimberlin.
Thank you, supervisors. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're ready for our presentation. The way the rest of the evening will run is for the next about the next hour. We will have presentations, and then the questions, any questions you might have, you can put in the Q&A, and we will be working on those after the presentations. And I'd like to welcome our first presenter.
Real quick, Kathy, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but we have some issues with the interpretation channel. So I wanted to just quickly get our IT aware of these issues. I've been receiving texts on the Q&A. The Cantonese interpreter seems to be in the wrong channel, and the Vietnamese channel is not working either. So Mel,
I'm on it and I'm working on it. They will be
thank you so
disabled
much.
for a moment while I make this, try to make the fixes.
Shall we continue, or shall we wait for you?
If you want, it is up to you. It may take a few minutes. So it is your call. I do apologize.
Okay, all right. I think we will continue on, start with our presentation, because as we said, this will be sent to everyone after. So I'd like to introduce our first panelist.
Interpreters, please stop until the interpretation channels are re-enabled.
Okay, can you let us know though when you re-enabled so we can start?
Yes, I will be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll wait just a moment.
Can I ask a question? I don't have my language, Arabic. I'm the Arabic interpreter, and the name is wrong. That's not my name.
Okay. We actually found out that we cannot add a couple of the languages on tonight. We maxed out at 6. And so the first 6 who showed up are on. I do apologize for that. So we won't be able to add you tonight. And I'm sorry for that inconvenience.
Oh, okay. That's fine. But do you want me to stay or?
No, we won't be able to add you on as an interpreter. So thank you for checking in and thank you for speaking up.
Okay, but I sign up since like, in your time, 5:30, in my time, 8:30. So you want me to leave so I can tell the company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's your name, please, Miss Kathy?
Kathy Kimberlin.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll let them know. Okay, but give me
Okay.
a moment, okay, so I can make a call.
Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Let me just you mute me so I can let them know, please, if you don't mind, because it's very important, okay?
The interpretation channels have been re-established. If the interpreters will please go to their interpretation channels.
Wonderful. Thank you. So our first presenter is from the Alameda County Public Defender's Office, Immigration Unit, Raha Georgiani. Would you welcome?
Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you to the supervisors and everyone who's worked so hard to put this event together. My name is Raha Georgiani. I run the Immigration Representation Unit at the Alameda County Public Defender's Office. I'll talk a little bit later about the work that we do or the services that we provide, but just by way of a very brief introduction, so everyone knows that there are criminal defense attorneys, public defenders at a public defender office who defend people against criminal charges that are being brought against them. What we did at our office 10 years ago was to bring on an immigration unit to advise those public defenders and also to be able to take a number of cases of individuals who are facing deportation and other types of removal defense. So we have, your Alameda County Public Defender, because we are here to fight for you and we work for you. Your Public Defender's Office in Alameda County has a team of immigration attorneys that are embedded here and are able to provide advice and in certain circumstances to take removal cases. So with that, we actually wanted to start off the night by doing a Know Your Rights presentation that a lot of folks are hopefully here for. So we wanted to just go over some of the rights. It's impossible to cover all of everything and talk about everything, but I will jump right into the Know Your Rights presentation. Then I'll speak very briefly about the services that we provide and then pass it on to the other wonderful speakers that are here tonight. So right number one, this is a basic one. I'm sure everyone has heard a lot by now. You have the right not to open the door if any agents come knocking on your door. So to be clear, if an ICE officer approaches you on the street or a police officer approaches you on the street, they don't necessarily need a warrant to speak with you. But if they come to your house, for example, they do need to present a warrant before you have to open the door. And that warrant has to be a legal or valid warrant. It can't just be any piece of paper. So what you need to remember is if somebody says that they're some type of authority, whether immigration or police or officer or any type of authority, do not open the door. Ask the officers to slide the warrant under the door or to show you to hold up the piece of paper against the glass so that you can read it. You do not have to feel rushed. You do not have to act immediately quickly. You can take a moment. You can explain that you would like to see the warrant and have them slide the warrant under the door or hold it up against the glass. Once you're able to see it, we recommend that you take a picture of the warrant so that you're able to have it for your records and you're able to show it to anybody to help you figure out what the warrant says. So there's two things you want to check for. A valid warrant has to state your name and address or the name and address of the person that the officers are looking for. It has to state it correctly on the warrant. So if it's misspelled, if it's anything is incorrect, Even if it's an accidental error, then the warrant is not valid. Okay? Second thing is that a warrant to be valid has to be signed by a judge. It cannot be signed by, and sorry for the, I hope you can't hear the traffic behind me outside my window, but a real warrant is not just signed by a police officer or an immigration officer or even an immigration judge. It has to be a regular judge, a regular criminal court judge, whether state criminal court or federal criminal court or otherwise a federal judge. Okay? And if you're not sure whether the warrant is valid, feel free to, if you know an immigration attorney or you have people that can help you, you can text them a copy of the warrant so that they can help you figure out whether the warrant is valid, or you can call the Alameda County Rapid Response Network and see if there's someone there to help you. If the warrant is not valid, you do not have to open the door. And now we go to what is a warrant? Just to review that, a warrant is a legal document that specifies the areas to be searched and the individuals or items to be seized. So officers and judges have to be specific about the purpose of the search. It can't just be to go fishing for potential illegality, right? They have to be specific about the individuals they're looking for or the specific items that are to be seized. A very, very important thing to remember is that you should not ever provide false information, okay? You don't have to, you always have to be truthful. So next slide, please. Do not provide false information. If you are going to provide information, you have to provide truthful information. However, you also have the right to remain silent, which we'll talk about in a moment, and not answer questions about your immigration status or country of origin. But if you provide false information or false documents, whether intentionally or even unintentionally, it can create a lot of additional problems for you. So you want to make sure not to be rushed, take your time, and really think about the steps that you're about to take. Next slide, please. Right number 2, the right to remain silent. If you're stopped by any authorities, again, immigration officers or even regular police officers, you do have the right to remain silent. You do have to give your real name, but after that, you can ask to call your attorney, or if you don't have an attorney, you can ask for time to speak with an attorney or look for an attorney. You don't have to answer questions about where you were born or your immigration status. You don't have to answer questions about pending criminal cases or your prior criminal history. That's very protected information, and you don't have to answer those questions without first speaking with a lawyer. So just remember, you have a right to remain silent. Next slide.
Hey, Raha, it's David.
Yes.
You're doing a great job, but
too fast.
Let me just suggest that maybe it's a little too fast for the interpreters.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you. Great job.
I appreciate that. I'm wondering how I'll do this in 15 minutes, but I will slow down, and we'll just get through whatever we get through. So going to the next slide. Okay, so right number 3. You have the right, if you're detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, you have the right to express a fear of deportation. So here's the thing. Some people get a hearing and some people don't get a hearing automatically, okay? If you're somebody who is going to get a hearing, if you are told that you're going to speak to an immigration judge or be heard by an immigration judge in the future, then you can express your fear of deportation or your fear of returning to your country of birth to the immigration judge. You can explain that at the hearing. One thing I want everyone to remember is that if you get a hearing, again, these are people that are working for you. They are getting paid to hold a hearing for you. You are one of the most important people in that room. So if you don't understand something, say it. Say you don't understand. If you want them to go slower, tell them to go slower. If you want them to break it down and explain everything, ask for that. The mistake a lot of people make is that they are not following what's going on, but they just, they just nod and go forward thinking they will fix it later.
Excuse me for a moment, Raha. Could I ask you to hold for a moment because we have some troubles with our interpreter channels, and if we can have them reset right now, then maybe the interpreters can come back in.
On the Spanish channel. If you could, if Serenity could try selecting the Chinese channel for interpretation, that would be appreciated. If you can select your channel to be Chinese, we're going to try and select your channel on the world icon. Correct. You should be in Chinese. Correct. You should be speaking to Chinese. That's why you're talking to the Spanish channel right now.
Thank you, everyone.
If we could pause because we're interrupting the presentation, we will fix it after this presenter.
Okay, so we'll continue. Thank you.
Okay. If you are not given a hearing, there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe you have a prior removal order from the past and other reasons. If you are not going to get a hearing, remember that if you are afraid to return to your country of birth, you should state that. You should express that out loud to anyone who will listen, frankly. Deportation officers, detention center officers, you have to request a hearing to be able to present your case if you have a fear of return. That is the one exception to get you a hearing if you are otherwise not entitled to one. Next slide, please. Right number 4, the right not to be abused. If you're detained by immigration officials or police officers, you have the right not to be mistreated or abused, either physically or verbally, by any authority. If you're abused in any way, try to get the name of the officer who abused you and let someone outside of the detention center or the jail know about it. Let someone else know. Abuse happens, but it is against the law and you have a right to be protected from it. Next slide, please. Very, very important one. You have the right not to sign documents. If you are detained by immigration officers or other officers, especially in immigration, you will be given a bunch of pieces of paper and asked to sign. If you understand what those documents say and you agree with those documents and you do not want more time to check them, then you are free to sign them. However, if you do not understand, if you have questions that nobody has answered for you, you do not have to sign any pieces of paper. You have the right to be able to talk to an attorney or run it by a legal representative to see what they recommend. Okay, no one can make you sign anything. Next slide, please. You have the right to determine if you are free to go. So what does that mean? Very often, police officers and immigration officers can approach someone and just start asking them questions. And it's natural for us to be scared. It's natural for us to be worried. And so we think to ourselves, oh, I have to answer the questions. And since an officer is talking to me, I'm not free to go. That's not true. Sometimes an officer is not actually detaining you and has not placed you under arrest. And you're just talking to them because you're essentially volunteering, right? You're just agreeing, you're consenting to speak with them. and you may not intend to consent to speak to that officer. So don't assume that you're being detained. Don't assume that you're not free to go. Ask. Always ask the question. And it's very simple. An officer starts to talk to you and you say, "Officer, am I free to go?" And if you are, they'll say yes, you won't believe it, and you'll walk the other direction. And if not, then remember your right to remain silent, your right not to sign anything, and so on and so forth. But the good thing about it is that at least if you know whether or not you're free to go, then you won't continue to stay there thinking you're not free if actually you are not being detained or arrested by anyone. Next slide, please. Right number 7, we're almost done. The right to know the reason for your arrest. So again, if you are arrested by any authority, immigration or regular police, you have the right to know the reason for your arrest. So you can ask the question, what am I being held for? Why am I being arrested? You do not have the right to physically resist an arrest. Next slide, please. And I want to talk about that for a moment. You do not have the right to physically resist arrest, even if the officers are wrong, even if the arrest is unlawful and it's not right, even if you should be free to go, still, you can't resist arrest because resisting arrest is itself a crime for which you can be arrested, charged, and convicted. So the best strategy is to just remain silent, remain calm, and challenge later in court or some other way, challenge the fact that your arrest was unlawful. Okay, so it's something that you have to fight in court, not with your body, right? Not in any other physical way. Next slide, please. There are a series of things that you really want to avoid, and I'm happy to go over these more in the question and answer. I'm going to run through these quickly. Do not run from agents or police. It doesn't solve anything, and it may make things worse. Do not carry false documents. Do not drive vehicles without a license, without insurance, or without valid vehicle registration. All of these things can cause legal problems that then cause immigration problems. Do not abuse alcohol. Avoid public intoxication. Do not get involved in any physical confrontations with another person. Next slide. So really you have to try to avoid any types of physical confrontations. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, were we already maybe? Oh, okay, maybe I missed that, sorry. Do not physically mistreat or abuse minors. Make sure that you are complying with the laws of this land in terms of how people are to be treated, because again, all of these problems can create much bigger immigration problems. And finally, do not possess drugs, illegal substances, or even paraphernalia. Some of these may be very minor. Next slide, please. But even minor criminal offenses can have huge, terrible consequences. Any arrest or charge or conviction will impact your immigration status. Even if an arrest is later, doesn't turn into a conviction. Even if a conviction is later set aside or withdrawn or expunged. These things, unfortunately, under our current immigration laws, continue to have an impact on the person. Next slide, please. So again, very minor misdemeanors can have huge consequences. A quick example is you can commit a minor misdemeanor, get convicted, and be sentenced to 3 days in jail. 3 days in jail for that misdemeanor. But you can spend weeks, months, and years in immigration detention just based on that same minor misdemeanor. These laws are unfair and poorly written but these are the laws that we have. Next slide, please. I want everyone to just know about family preparedness plans that are out there. It's important especially for mixed status families where one or more person may be not a citizen of the United States or maybe undocumented. It's important for immigrant families to think about and create plans for immigration emergencies that can come up. And you can find these resources online. Just a few more slides. And I will end. The Public Defender's Office, our office, has an immigration unit, as I said in the beginning. We provide expert immigration advice to public defenders so that if you in the community are not a citizen of the United States and you're charged with a crime, we let your public defender know special things about immigration so that they can defend you as well as possible, so that they can help you avoid certain immigration consequences. We also take a limited number of cases for removal defense, where we represent people before immigration courts and appellate courts on appeal. We take some of the cases of kids who are eligible, juveniles who get in trouble, undocumented kids who get in trouble and are in the juvenile justice system. We are able to look for ways that they might be able to gain status. And if they're eligible for that status, we help them apply for that status. And we have a post-conviction litigation practice, which means that many immigrants were convicted of crimes and they didn't understand the immigration consequences of those crimes. So their defense attorney didn't advise them about what the immigration consequences of accepting a plea might be, or they just, for another reason, didn't understand. Our attorneys can help you go back in time and try to undo a criminal conviction that is now causing you a serious consequence. Next slide, please. Finally, we put a number of resources on our website. So if you Google the Alameda County Public Defender, you go to our website, you will see a number of resources. I've identified 2 of them in the next 2 slides. One of them is, you'll see right on our homepage, it says Know Your Rights with ICE. So a lot of what I talked about today is available on our website. And then if you click on that link and you go to, there will be a series of videos that was put together by the We Have Rights campaign. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. There's a series of, I believe there's 6 or so videos in 7 different languages that go through how to deal with ICE outside of your doors, how to deal with ICE inside your home, how to deal with ICE at a check-in on the street. These are really well-made videos that are in multiple languages, and we encourage you to take a look at them. I've gone over my time, so I'll stop talking, but I'm happy to answer any questions when we get to the second portion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raha, for that incredible presentation. We will be sending that out to folks so that they can really dig down, view the pages, learn more, take some time. And of course, that it's in multiple languages is very, very helpful. So thank you. Right now, we're going to take a brief break while we kind of recalibrate our interpreters' channels. We're having a little bit of problems. So bear with me. And when I hear from IT, we'll start back up with our next presenter.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
这个翻译频道啊，请稍等一
Interpreters,
下。
please don't interpret for the next moment. I'm resetting the channels.
Okay.
Serenity, if you can confirm that you were in the Chinese channel, I am now starting it. I will jump in to make sure I can hear you.
I believe she is in the Spanish channel again.
I see that. I am not sure what is going on with that. So I'm going to try it one more time.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
好，谢谢大家的耐心。
Gracias a todos por su paciencia.
Interpreters, please wait one moment. My apologies. There is something with the system that it is putting our Cantonese interpreter into our Spanish channel, so we do not have Cantonese.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that, but thank you for trying to fix that. Okay, no Cantonese interpretation tonight. All right, we'll move forward, I think, with our presenters. And our next presenter is going to be from the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area. Sarah Fain, would you like to come on and tell us a little bit about your organization and then give us some useful information that will help people know their rights? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting us and giving us an opportunity. Thank you specifically to Supervisors Haubert and Marquez for holding this, because we do understand it's a really hard time for a lot of people in our community. And so we want to be here to be able to provide resources and information to keep you safe. My name is Sarah Fain, and I am in the Fremont office of the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area. We have been around since 1918, and we're currently the largest nonprofit provider of immigration legal services in Northern California, with offices throughout the Bay Area. So all of our 7 offices are able to help you with a range of different affirmative and defensive immigration legal services. We specialize in humanitarian-based cases and family-based cases. So if you think that you need help applying for some kind of immigration benefit, we're here to help. And it was really helpful hearing all the information about how do we keep ourselves safe? How do we keep our immigrant family members and community members safe? And right now, it's important to know our rights. And the best way to keep yourself safe is to get immigration status if you are eligible. And lots of people might not be eligible, but we can help determine that. So what I want to talk about today is getting that help to see if you could actually apply for an immigration benefit to protect you long term. Next slide, please. So if you think that you might be eligible for an immigration benefit, to apply for something based on a family member or based on something that may have happened to you or something in your past, the first thing you want to do is get an immigration consultation. And the purpose of the immigration consultation for the person who's looking for the service is to understand if you're eligible. And you also want to understand the costs, the timing, and any risks associated with applying for a benefit. And then you also want to see if you work well with that attorney or legal services provider. And things that you might consider would be, can you afford their fees if they have fees? Do you feel like they have the knowledge and skill in what you're looking for? And are you able to access those services? And then there's also the goals of the person providing the consultation. The attorney or a caseworker who works with a legal services provider, they also have the same goal, which is to understand if you're eligible for any immigration remedy. And then they also want to see, can they take your case based on their experience or capacity? And can you build a relationship based on trust and respect? Because we understand it's hard to do these processes. And so you want to be able to work with your legal services provider as a team. Next slide. So if you have decided, I know my rights, but I think that I might actually be able to apply for something else, and I need to get a consultation. Well, what do you do to prepare for the consultation? Well, the first thing is to make the consultation. Right now, especially the nonprofit organizations, there's a long wait sometimes to get a consultation. So find who you want to get the consultation from, and we will provide some resources on that, and sign up for it. And then before you go, you want to understand or make sure you know the right information. Do you know your full immigration history? Do you have all the documents you might need to answer questions? And usually these are identity documents like work permits or birth certificates, or immigration documents, receipts or notices or copies of applications. And depending on your history and the circumstances, you may have criminal records that would be relevant either for you or someone else, and maybe financial documents, depending on your circumstances. Next slide. So what happens in the immigration consultation? You get asked lots of questions. And the reason is because in order for an attorney or a caseworker to analyze your case and see if you qualify for a benefit under the law, they need lots of information. So the first thing is your contact information. And every information that you provide to a licensed attorney or immigration legal services provider is confidential within that organization, with some exceptions. So you can feel safe in telling that information to the attorney and know that that won't be shared outside. It won't be shared with ICE. It won't be shared with the police. It won't be shared with family members unless you give permission. They'll ask about family members and immigration history to see if you might be eligible. They'll ask if you have anything in your history that might cause you problems, maybe a complicated immigration history, or maybe you've had an arrest. It doesn't mean you're not eligible, but it means that we need to know that in order to see how you would be eligible. And ultimately, you know your story better than anyone. You know what you're coming for. And if you feel like a question hasn't been asked or something has been misunderstood, then I encourage you to speak up for yourself, because you know better than anyone about yourself. And then in the consultation, if you determine that you're eligible, then you will work with that person to make a plan for next steps. And you want to be sure that you're clear on what those next steps are. Next slide. So then the key is, how do you find a reputable attorney? I would recommend starting with immigration legal services providers, not-for-profit. We are driven by our mission to serve immigrants and their communities. We often get our funding through other sources, so we charge less or we charge nothing to our clients. And also, we have a long, deep relationship working with the clients who are looking for our types of services. At the same time, because of the great work that these organizations are doing, there's a big demand, and so there might be a wait. Private attorneys do the same work as nonprofit organizations. They just charge a fee, but they might have more capacity. Lastly, and most importantly, there are many licensed attorneys in the Bay Area and beyond who practice immigration law. Many, many immigration legal services providers throughout all the counties in the Bay Area. Please, please do not look for services by people who hold themselves out as notaries or preparers. A notario in the US is not the same as it is in other countries, and they do not have any ethical duties or the right training. So if you need a consultation, our organization provides that. Other organizations who are participating today provide that, and we'll have some resources at the end of this. And I look forward to hearing the individual questions that everyone has, and hope that we can answer some of those. And know that if you have a question that's so specialized that it really can't be answered in this circumstance, sounds like it might be worth the effort to get a consultation and be able to ask those questions specifically about you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And thank you very much, Sarah. That was very worthwhile information. We appreciate the time you've taken to share that. We will share those slides as well afterwards. And I think you'll be joined by Eleanor and Jocelyn a little bit later in the Q&A. And next, we will hear from Centro Legal de la Raza. And the presenter, panelist for this topic from this organization is David Hall. Welcome, David Hall.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Hall, and I'm a managing attorney on the tenants' rights team at Centro Legal. And I want to especially thank Supervisors Haubert and Marquez for organizing this. This couldn't be more timely, and it's really fantastic that y'all were able to act so quickly and put this together, because this is all such important information to get out to the community. Centro Legal, just briefly, was formed about 50 years ago by law students at the time, with the idea of presenting and providing free legal services to the East Bay community. As an Alameda, next slide, please. As an Alameda County resident, you have rights as a tenant, whether or not, regardless of your immigration or your citizenship status. And there are a variety of rights. Your landlord has to make repairs in your home if there's a problem in your home. Your landlord has to provide housing that is habitable, that is safe for you and your family. Your landlord cannot harass you in your home. They cannot enter without meeting the proper legal guidelines, which is, unless in cases of non-emergency cases, they need to provide 24 hours written notice for them to enter your apartment. Your landlord has to follow the law in order to evict you or to make you leave your home. And finally, your landlord has certain limitations on how much they can increase your rent and how they go about increasing your rent. It's really important to know that all of these rights are rights you have regardless of your immigration status, regardless of your citizenship status. If you are a tenant in Alameda County, you have these rights. Now, Centro Legal serves tenants in Alameda County, regardless of your immigration status. If you meet our income guidelines, we can provide legal services for you free of charge. And this is true whether you live in incorporated Alameda County or unincorporated Alameda County. If you're a resident of the county, regardless of where that is, we can potentially help you. Now, right off the bat, perhaps one of the most important things to know is what your landlord can do regarding your immigration status. Now, several years ago, the California legislature passed Civil Code 1940.3. The number isn't really relevant, but basically this was a law that governs what your landlord can do about your immigration status, what they can ask about it, what they can do with that information. And the three most important things that you should know is, first of all, a landlord under almost every circumstance cannot ask you about your immigration or citizenship status. There's an exception if you live in federally subsidized housing, and such as a Section 8 voucher or another sort of subsidized housing, but otherwise, a landlord can't ask you this question. They can't ask you this question if you're applying to be a tenant in their property, and they can't ask you this question once you are in their property. Furthermore, a landlord can't require you to disclose this status. So not only can they not ask you, they can't make you give them this answer. And finally, a landlord can't disclose this information to anyone else in order to harass you, to intimidate you, or to make you leave your housing. So this is very important to know that this is a basic right you have. So much in the same way that a lot of advice is going to be in the immigration context in general to recognize that you have the right to remain silent. This is something you don't have to answer in most circumstances when your landlord asks you these questions. Now, if you are having problems with your housing, Centro Legal provides two main types of legal services. The first is general legal consultations, For issues that are not quite to the level of an eviction, such as, hey, how do I ask my landlord to make repairs? Or is this rent increase illegal? We can do what's called a legal consult with you, where we either get on the phone with you or you show up to one of our online or in-person Know Your Rights presentations, and we can answer some questions and generally advise you what your rights under the law are. Also, if you've been served with an eviction case, we can help you file an answer. The most important thing to know, if you've been served with eviction papers and then your landlord files an eviction lawsuit against you, is you have 10 days, not including weekends or holidays, to file an answer to that lawsuit. If you don't file an answer, you lose automatically and will lose your housing. So regardless of whether we can help you throughout the entire course of your eviction, we can certainly try to help you file an answer and get that answer on file with the court system so a default is not taken against you. Finally, we can do, as I said, these things in a couple of ways, like either over the phone, during our remote Zoom-based workshops, which we host at least once a month, as well as several in-person consultations throughout the Bay Area, which includes Hayward and San Leandro. And I'll talk a little bit more about how to find that information in just a moment. We also do direct legal representation. We can't take every case that comes through the door, but if you meet our income guidelines, we can directly represent you throughout the course of your eviction from beginning to end and either help you settle your case or, in the worst case scenario, to take the case to trial and defend you at that trial. We can also help you with rent board hearings. Certain cities in the in Alameda County have local rent control ordinances, and those cities allow you to file a petition perhaps to challenge an illegal rent increase. We can represent folks in those situations. And then finally, those are really the two main areas that we can assist with. Now, for those folks who have an eviction case that we weren't able to handle, unfortunately, the numbers of evictions in Alameda County are still much, much higher than they have been in many years. So we cannot take every case of everyone that comes to our door. Everyone who has an eviction case eventually gets set for a settlement conference in court, which is on a Wednesday. And on those Wednesdays, Central Legal, as well as two other organizations, the East Bay Community Law Center and the Eviction Defense Center, are there on those Wednesdays to help anyone who doesn't have an attorney to help settle their cases that day. So you should, at least at some point in the eviction process, be eligible for some level of assistance, whether that's assistance from the beginning to the end or assistance just to help you settle your case. And we're happy to do that. We do that free of charge. We are able to help folks with various different language capabilities, either through our attorneys and paralegals who speak multiple languages or the interpretation services we can use over the phone. Next slide, please. How to contact us? It's pretty simple. There are 3 ways. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I believe this information will be sent out, but feel free to write this down. You can call us and at the number listed here. You can select the tenants' rights option, which is number 2, and then leave a message with your name, your telephone number, and our team will get back to you and try to set up an appointment for you. You can also email us at tenantsrights@centrallegal.org. Same thing, if you can provide detailed information about what your question is, what you need assistance with, we'll get back to you and to let you know if we can assist you. If it is an eviction case, make sure you flag that matter because those are very time sensitive and we need to get back to you very quickly in order to be able to assist you. And finally, we have an online housing questionnaire found at the website shown below, ac/housingsecure.org. And I'll have a slide about that goes into a little more detail about the assistances there. But if you fill that out, the questions that will get at what assistance you're in need of, we can potentially help you out with that. And then our intake in all 3 of these situations, whether it's phone, email, or the website, our intake team will reach out to you and let you know what the next steps are. Next slide, please. So again, the Alameda County Housing Secure website. The website is listed here on this slide. There's quite a bit of information available at this website. There are videos in multiple languages. If you have questions about what your rights are under the law, for example, in terms of making repairs or in terms of what your rights are in terms of rent control, there's information there. There's information to help you file an answer to an eviction case. Let's say you're on the 10th day and you have to file an answer that day. We might not be able to help you that day, but there is information where you can download a packet, fill it out yourself, take it to court and file it, and then we can assist you later on to file what's called an amended answer, where you can assert more defenses. There's also a calendar of all of our workshops. Like I said, we do one workshop a month that's on Zoom, that's a presentation much like this, that starts with a Know Your Rights presentation, and then there are breakout rooms where you can ask individual questions. We also have several in-person clinics, namely in San Leandro and in Hayward. And like we said, our Know Your Rights self-help materials exist there and in multiple languages. Next slide, please. Finally, there is the ASILA program. In addition to tenants' rights, Central Legal has an immigration team. And that immigration team participates in ASILA, which stands for the Alameda County Immigrant Legal Education Partnership. Now, with this program, there are resources at this website. There's a phone number that you can call directly to Centro Legal that is open 9 to 5 every weekday. We are closed on Fridays currently. Calls to that number, we can set up a consultation where we can advise you of your basic rights. And the calls that will be prioritized at that number are, have you seen actual ICE agents in action? Have you had an interaction with an ICE agent? And most importantly, have you or has someone else you know been arrested by an ICE agent? If one of those three situations is in fact the case, and you leave a message with us, make sure that you leave that information, because we will prioritize those cases and get back to you more quickly. And again, on this website, which is at asilep.org, there are Know Your Rights informations. There's a calendar of workshops and events. There's the direct phone number of how to reach out to Centro directly to set up a consultation about these issues. And hopefully we can provide some immediate information to assist you in this situation. And that is the end of my presentation. So I will stick around for the question and answer. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your work. Very much appreciated. Okay. Do we have any interpreter things that we need to settle right now, or any reminders we need before our next presenter?
I just wanted to quickly remind everyone that if you have any questions, please do not raise your hand. You can go ahead and enter your questions into the Q&A section at the bottom, and we will be getting through those either by responding right away, or we will wait for the Q&A section. I do see that there's one attendee who is raising their hand. Please enter your questions into the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next up, we're going to hear from the Alameda County Office of Ed, and Salaja Suresh is going to present. We welcome you and would love for you to say a little bit about what you do, and then go into your presentation. Thank you for being here. Can't hear you, but you don't look like you're muted.
We still can't hear.
Give me one moment and I will do that. Also, please double check that if you are in the English channel, that you do not have mute original audio on, because that would make it so you can't hear her either.
Try again.
I can hear you in the English channel with everything, but let me go to the original one. Go ahead and try again. For English speakers, please go to the English channel. Go ahead and try one more time. Yep, please go to the English channel. I'm sorry, attendees, please go to the English channel.
Yes, I think we can hear you. I think you're ready to go. Thank you. I'm so sorry to interrupt, Sila. I'm so sorry. We are still having a little bit of a difficulty hearing you on the other channels. I believe if you're an English speaker, I can hear you on the English channel, but I can't hear you on some of the other ones like the Spanish channel. So Mel, are we able to fix that real quick?
If we could do a test real fast, I'm going to switch to the Spanish channel so I can hear what you are hearing. Okay.
Silaja, I think it might be because you're in the English channel. So I think if you get out of the English channel, you might be able to be heard in the other ones. Mel?
I am working on it. I'm going to try something and I do apologize. I'm going to try making you an attendee and then bringing you back over. It is not. You're only in the Spanish channel now. I don't even have you listed as an interpreter, so I'm not sure why it is doing this. So give me one moment. I'm going to try ending. All interpreters, please don't interpret. I'm going to try ending this and switching her and then switching her back. I do apologize. This is the first time I've ever seen this happen. Hold on one moment. So it is still bringing you up as a interpreter. So I'm going to do the only other fix I can think of, which is to keep you as a attendee and promote you to talk.
Great, thank you. Is interpretation set up?
Interpretation is on.
Great, thank you. Again, thank you everyone for your patience. Just reviewing these, I only have a couple of slides. I will go fast. So just to reiterate, schools, as well as districts, do not collect immigration information from students, do not share immigration information about students. And in addition, like the Public Defender's Office stated at the beginning of the meeting, immigration agents, federal agents are not allowed to enter school campuses without a valid judicial warrant. So ICE agents will not be allowed on campus. In addition, the State Department of Education in California has also reiterated their dedication to serving all students in our schools, including students who are immigrants themselves or who come from immigrant families. And they have provided their own hotline specifically for schools. So if you are someone who works in a school or has concerns about immigration activity that you might see at a school, in addition to the other hotlines that are being shared here in Alameda County, there's also a resource specifically for schools in California. Next slide, please. Again, reiterating some information that's in particular for families who have children in our school systems. Make sure that your school has up-to-date contact information. Sometimes phone numbers change, sometimes addresses change, sometimes emergency contacts change. Please provide the most up-to-date information to your schools so that if there is any kind of concern in the school or out, there can be communication about what is happening. It has also been shared tonight that there are examples of family preparedness plans that are available online. If you or someone in your family has concerns about how they might be affected by potential immigration enforcement activities, please make sure that you're creating a plan for what might happen in one of those cases. Again, make sure that you also have the phone numbers for how to contact your school, how to contact an after-school provider in case there are any issues that you need to communicate to the school about, and make sure that you understand your rights. There was an excellent presentation tonight about what every person in the United States has a right to when it comes to interactions with potential federal agents or others. Next slide, please. Thank you. Sharing some of the phone numbers for folks who are here tonight, as well as shouting out the hotline that will be available starting next week. That's a CLIP, which our speaker from Centro Legal spoke about tonight. Again, that is if you see immigration or customs enforcement in action and there's a concern that you have, there's a hotline available specifically here in Alameda County for our residents. And then last slide. So again, just a quick summary, make sure that if you have concerns that you have a plan that is for your family members, you have a way to contact your school, they have a way to contact you, that you can print out your red cards, know your rights for you, for your family members, and that if you are at a school and there is immigration activity, you can reach out directly to the California Department of Education hotline or to the hotline that is being set up here in Alameda County as well. And with that, I will close out and I will be available for Q&A.
Thank you very much. That was very important, short and sweet. We will be sending, once again, sending these slides out and links out, and a lot of the links do, you'll be able to read things in multiple languages.